Immediately following up on the conclusion to last week's episode, former Hand of the King Otto Hightower is on his way out of King's Landing and back to Old Town, the city where House Hightower is based. Before his departure, however, he is stopped with a farewell from Alicent. In a somewhat backwards attempt to show love and concern for his daughter, he warns her of the potential threat that Rhaenyra poses. Though we know it's clearly not in Rhaenyra's nature, it seems that Otto genuinely believes that she will kill Alicent and Viserys' children in order to secure herself a smoother transition to the Iron Throne. In turn, while obviously scheming and manipulating for years, we get a sense that Otto was operating on genuine fear, as unwarranted as we know that to be. Viserys wasted no time in choosing a replacement Hand of the King, and went with the wise choice of Lyonel Strong. After all, Lyonel has been the only member of the small council that has genuinely had the best interests of the king in mind. Lyonel has always spoken honestly and with the intent of offering genuine help and guidance. One of his brothers, however, seems to have the opposite nature. We see Larry Strong blatantly manipulate Alicent into suspecting that Rhaenyra had lied to her about her night out with Daemon, which, of course, we know she had. Since Criston Cole had become increasingly close with Rhaenyra over the past few years as her personal guard, Alicent saw him as likely to know the truth of the matter, but we'll get back to that conversation in just a bit. Rhaenyra, Criston, and King Viserys travel to Driftmark, the seat of House Velaryon, with the intention of Viserys proposing the marriage of Rhaenyra and Laenor. However, Corlys isn't immediately sold on the prospect. There are major implications to the line of succession and the broader continuity of the Targaryen dynasty that this marriage would bring to the forefront. King Viserys and Corlys settle on a compromise of sorts. The firstborn child of Laenor and Rhaenyra will automatically be heir to the Iron Throne, regardless of their gender. However, they will only be allowed to keep their father's last name of Velaryon until their ascension to the Iron Throne, at which point their last name will be shifted to Targaryen in order to preserve the continuity of the dynasty. While Corlys and Viserys are coming to that arrangement, Rhaenyra is getting to know her future husband. It turns out that Laenor is actually gay and in a romantic relationship with his personal guard Joffrey Lonmouth. Rhaenyra sees this as a golden opportunity to have her cake and eat it too. She proposes an open marriage to Laenor, essentially striking the deal that he could keep sleeping with Joffrey if she could keep sleeping with Criston. Though Laenor and Joffrey are on board with this proposal, Rhaenyra forgot to consult the key party, Criston himself. When Rhaenyra happily informs Criston of the compromise, he is blatantly enraged. Having fallen deeply in love with Rhaenyra, he proposes that the two flee Westeros and travel to the eastern continent of Essos, where they could adopt new identities, get married, and start a new life together. A life far away from the burdens of her royal obligations and his duties as a Knight of the Kingsguard. Rhaenyra, not wanting to abandon her life of privilege and her future on the Iron Throne, rejects Criston's proposal. This leaves him feeling spurned and full of guilt for his sex with Rhaenyra, the breaking of his Kingsguard oath. He is in this vulnerable mindset when Alicent calls upon him for questioning, following up on our conversation with Larry Strong. This leads to a tragic comedy of errors. Assuming Alicent is questioning him about his own sexual encounter with Rhaenyra rather than her encounter with Daemon, he confesses. This absolutely crushes Alicent, severing the bond between her and Rhaenyra even further. This feeling of betrayal, coupled with her father's words of warning at the outset of the episode, cements Alicent's loyalties to her own family and bloodline, as opposed to the Targaryen family she married into. This leads her to show up fashionably late to Rhaenyra and Laenor's pre-wedding party, donning a radiating green dress that book readers will obviously know the deeper significance of. But I promise this would be a spoiler-free review series, and spoiler-free I shall keep it. What I can comment on, however, is the analysis that some of the attendees of the party came to themselves. Green is the signature color of House Hightower. By choosing a green dress over the signature red and black of House Targaryen, she is showing everyone in attendance where her loyalties lie. Another surprise marks the start of the wedding festivities as Daemon rolls up despite his banishment from King's Landing. As we saw earlier in the episode, he had just finished murdering his wife up in the Vale, leaving him intentionally single for the wedding. It is purposely made unclear as to whether he went to the Vale with the intention of killing his wife, or whether he simply took advantage of her fall from her startled horse. Daemon is such a fascinating character, as his true motives are always so hard to read. I very much look forward to seeing them unravel through the rest of the season. Not wanting to make a scene in front of the many lords of the realm, Viserys has a chair pulled up for Daemon and allows him to stay at the head table. The newly single Daemon seems to take an interest in Laena Velaryon, who has grown up since the king rejected her child self for marriage years ago. Laena seems to reciprocate Daemon's interest, so we'll just have to wait and see whether Daemon further pursues her. Since this is a Game of Thrones show, the wedding festivities of course can't go off without a death. After Joffrey Lonmouth talks to Criston Cole about the open marriage compromise Rhaenyra and Laenor came to earlier in the episode, Criston mentally snaps. He brutally assaults Joffrey to the point of disfigurement and death, sending the wedding party into absolute chaos. Rhaenyra is rescued from the mob by the third strong brother, Harwin. If you recall, this is the man who smiled at Rhaenyra when she returned to the hunting party covered in blood during episode 3. Fleeing from the scene of the crime, Criston is at his wit's end. Not only does Queen Alicent know of his illegal sex with Rhaenyra, but he now has murdered an innocent man in front of the king, the personal guard of Rhaenyra's soon-to-be husband for that matter. In turn, he feels he has no choice but to commit suicide. Interestingly enough, he was about to end his life at the roots of a weirwood tree. All you book readers will understand the significance of this placement, but I won't dive deep into that right now, as it most likely won't be relevant for this show. Just as he was about to stab himself, however, he is stopped by Alicent, who also has fled the wedding. Note we do not see the conversation that happens next here. With the party in absolute ruins, King Viserys decides to forego the planned 7 days of feasting and tournaments in favor of a brisk shotgun wedding that very night. It's so tragic to see how shafted and ruined Rhaenyra's royal wedding became. With blood on the ground and rats circling as the ceremony is conducted, it seems to be an omen of what is to come for future royal milestones. The episode ends with Viserys fainting just as his daughter's wedding ceremony concludes. We saw throughout the episode that his health is in a severe decline. It seems that the infections from the wounds caused by his cuts on the Iron Throne have spread deeper into his body, leading to a much more serious illness. Notice how earlier in the episode, a young maester proposed an alternative medicine that would help his condition, but was starkly rejected by the older maester in favor of leeching, a treatment that has been shown not to work in previous episodes. Could it be that the older maester is purposely prolonging or worsening Viserys' condition? We'll just have to wait and see. Overall, I thought this was an excellent point to conclude the first half of this season. The showrunners have confirmed that there will be a very large time skip between this and next week's episodes, ushering in new cast members to play some of the main characters, including Rhaenyra and Alicent. I very much look forward to seeing their takes on the characters, but I'm also really sad to see Millie Alcock and Emily Carey go so soon. They did such fantastic jobs playing young Rhaenyra and Alicent that I doubt I could reread the book without seeing them as the characters. I really hope we'll get to see these two return in gap-filling flashbacks either later this season or in future seasons. If you enjoyed this video and like to see more content of this nature, be sure to hit that subscribe button. You can also ring the notification bell to be updated whenever I upload a new video. If you'd like to check out my fiction writing as well as my vlog channel, visit my website withkoji.com/@GurnHime. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all next week for episode 6.